mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, you may press star and the number 1 on your phone to ask a question. I would now like to turn the conference over to Mr. Justin Poland. Thank you, and you may begin.
Thank you, Tasha. Good morning, everybody. First off, we sent the slides over through your email accounts, so be sure to check your emails for these slides. And as Tasha said, there will be a question and answer session at the end of today's webinar. We do encourage you to ask questions. So without further ado, we will jump right into it. As I mentioned yesterday, we have a lot going on. We've already seen some of these showers that are moving over the Puget Sound region this morning. Mix some snowflakes down. For the most part, there haven't been any accumulations or very much in the way of impacts outside of wet and slick roads. But expecting another opportunity for some light, wet rain-snow mix again tomorrow morning. The most likely area for that looks to be mainly north of Everett and along the foothills, but we are expecting a changeover to rain during the daytime tomorrow. While that is the most likely area to see that, there is the potential again to see some rain-snow mix in the lowlands, but confidence is a little bit lower regarding that. We are expecting very windy conditions to begin tonight and last through tomorrow, mainly along the especially along the coast and into inland Whatcom and Skagit counties. And that lasting through this weekend. We are expecting coastal impacts with that, including tidal overflow possible, mainly on the outer coast. And there is some river flooding that is continuing on the Skokomish and in portions of the lower Chehalis basins. Additional rainfall amounts could extend that flooding into the weekend. Now, moving into next week, that's going to quickly become the bigger story once we get through this next system. The biggest story for this will be the very cold temperatures that we're expecting. We're looking at a prolonged sub-freezing stretch beginning Sunday and moving into at least portions of next week. There is also the potential for light snow accumulations in the lowlands. So these things will be very impactful, particularly for the vulnerable and unprotected populations. Further north in the northern interior, we're looking at strong cold Fraser outflow, which is expected to develop later on, looks like Sunday night, and potentially lasting through much of this week. And that's going to yield colder wind chills, perhaps even into the single digits or below 0 degrees at times. What we don't know, there's still low confidence regarding precipitation timing, placement, and amounts. So that's going to affect the snow forecast. The general timing and duration of Fraser outflow. Right now, we're expecting the onset early Sunday morning, but that may or may not be delayed a little bit, and there is a little bit of uncertainty on how long that could last. Right now, we're expecting it to last through at least Wednesday, but it could last a little bit longer than that. So another side effect of strong Fraser outflow, we could see enhanced snowfall across the northern Olympic Peninsula, but again, that will be contingent on the magnitude of the Fraser outflow. There is also some variability regarding the duration of sub-freezing temperatures. So some model guidance has shown a shorter period, some have shown a longer period, and there hasn't been very good long-term agreement from model run to model run on that. But as far as for planning purposes goes, it looks like it's going to be an extremely cold period beginning on Sunday through much of next week. So just to go over a timeline, again, today cold with light showers moving across the area, continuing to see a rain-snow mix with little accumulations expected across the region. Moving into tomorrow, we're expecting the next system to move into the region. Moderate to potentially heavy precipitation spreading from west to east across the area. Expecting additional rainfall accumulations in the lowlands, and continued river flooding on the Snohomish and lower Chehalis River basins, with heavy snow expected in the mountain passes and into the mountains. Windy conditions expected to develop along the coast, with winds generally out of the south and southeast. Strongest winds across the San Juans and into inland Whatcom and Skagit counties, with coastal impacts expected. Moving into Saturday, expecting rain and snow to linger across the region, with flooding to continue on the lower Chehalis and Snohomish rivers. High surf and coastal erosion possible on the outer coast, and there are generally breaks in precipitation expected during the day, although we do expect precipitation to linger in spots. Sunday and Sunday night is when we get our Arctic front through here. Temperatures will turn very cold, with the snow level generally crashing below 1,000 feet at that point. The best estimate at this time for Sunday and Sunday night, there is the potential for some wet lowland snow or rain-snow mix again, with the highest probabilities occurring on the higher hills. And again, further north, we're expecting that shift to northeasterly winds in response to strong Fraser outflow developing early Sunday morning. Monday and beyond, the cold sub-freezing temperatures will be the main story, with snow chances increasing through the week as cold air settles into the region and we get moisture pushes. Confidence is relatively high at this point that we will see snow somewhere in the lowlands during the week. But again, the prolonged sub-freezing temperatures will be highly impactful. Again, low confidence on precip timing, placement, and amounts. This is a look at several points looking at low temperatures, and we're going to look at kind of high temperatures to show the departure of what we're seeing now and potentially what we could see. This middle line here is generally what the mean of the forecast is, while the upper line there is kind of the upper end of what we could expect, and the lower line in the darkest blue is the lower end of what we could expect. So the main thing to take away from this is that we're expecting temperatures to get really cold, and that lasting through much of next week. So again, vulnerable populations, homeless, and those sorts of folks, there are expected to be impacts associated with those groups. And just to give you an idea, wind chill will be a factor, especially in areas where we're going to see Fraser outflow. These temperatures here, you see, 18, 10, 9 degrees up in Bellingham. When you add wind on top of that, it makes it feel a lot colder, perhaps, even below zero at times. So that's something else to take into account with these temperatures. High temperatures, generally expecting highs to also fall below freezing, potentially as early as Monday, and lasting through much of the week before we get back above freezing during the latter part of the week there. So shifting back to this next system that's coming through, looking at the snowfall forecast, again, expecting generally light accumulations, mainly north of Everett in Skagit and Whatcom counties. Not expecting much in the way of impacts in the lowlands, but as we move into the mountains, especially the mountain passes, we're expecting heavy travel impacts. Looking at kind of a reasonable worst case scenario in the lowlands, potentially up to 2 inches can be observed up in Bellingham, with trace amounts elsewhere in the lowlands, and that snow level again is going to be down to 500 to 1,000 feet. Rainfall amounts, not expecting too much in the way of additional rainfall amounts, but it will be enough in portions of the Olympic Peninsula to prolong that river flooding on the Snohomish and Chehalis, lower Chehalis rivers. Wind speeds, expecting the highest period of winds to occur tomorrow. Winds again will be out of the south-southeast, with the highest winds up in the northern interior there and offshore. We can see periods of gusts of 55 to 60 miles per hour, particularly near the water. So impacts will be associated with that, particularly along the coast. Including coastal erosion and possible tidal overflow moving into Saturday. So again, taking a look at temperatures and the extended, we're expecting below average temperatures to continue even into portions of next week. So these cold temperatures look like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And precipitation wise, generally, compared to yesterday, looking a little bit more likely to run around equal chances in that period. So to summarize it, tomorrow through Saturday, we're expecting heavy mountain snow to affect travel through the passes. Expecting wind impacts mainly in Whatcom and Skagit counties. Again, those impacts mainly being coastal erosion, tidal overflow, and there is the potential for some power outages where the winds gust the highest there. Sunday and beyond, turning very cold. Again, perhaps a period of prolonged sub-freezing temperatures lasting through much of next week. And there remains the risk for lowland snow possible at some point. Again, low confidence in the finer details regarding placement and amounts at this time. So with that, Tasha, I would like to open up the line for questions.
We will now begin our question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, press star and the number 1 from your phone. Unmute your line and speak